Hello and welcome to the Content Octopus podcast. Each episode, we take a different business case study and provide content marketing solutions that you can use in your business today. Content Octopus team are Sass here on marketing and strategy and support, Mona covering branding and design, and myself, Lou, on video and animation. And we're joined by Mike, who'll be playing the role of our business owner this week. Mike, please tell us about your business.
Well, for the past 4 years or so, I've developed my business mostly through networking and word of mouth. But I feel like I've reached the point now to go beyond that and take that to the next level. I think it would be good to explore some ideas of how I can use content marketing. I've heard a lot about that to further kind of separate myself from the rest of the competition, and the services that I offer, if there's any ways or, channels to market myself differently. In terms of, I guess, planning, which is what I probably should be doing, Sass, is there anything I can do in terms of, I guess, formulating a strategy?
Yeah, I think the best option, really, Mike. I mean, I would always recommend when anybody comes to me for marketing strategy, work, is I recommend a workshop, really, whereby we adopt a very structured approach to trying to get to grips with where you are within your business, where you'd like to go to, purely from a marketing point of view. And that really revolves around three different areas: finding clients, converting clients, and then delivering to those clients. Now, I know you're probably doing quite a lot of that at the moment, and some of it's successful or not. But I think within that, also that framework, the opportunity exists to look at differentiators, niches that you might be able to explore. Find out a little bit more about what's worked well for you in the past, what hasn't worked so well for you in the past, and also look at recommendations for creating a bit like sort of creating a good, nice roadmap or train tracks upon which you can then start doing things, and obviously reviewing and monitoring and making sure that things are working, and when they're not working, take some action and look at other options. So the reality is, what we do is take a holistic view of your business, of all the things that you've done in your business, and also important things like let's have a look at your database. Let's have a look at who you've got within your database at the moment, and how you've reached out to those sort of people in the past. Again, what's worked and what hasn't, and just to sort of round it all off, what sort of a budget can you afford to do marketing with? What sort of plan, a plan that will come out of that, and a timeline. Most important would then be the timeline. How quickly do you want to achieve these types of things? And I would always recommend you do some quick wins first, then develop that into more medium-term things, and also have something that's a real sort of out there, shooting for the moon type of something that keeps you motivated as well as a business owner, to achieve in the future.
When you say workshop, do you mean like brainstorm some ideas, or have like a sit-down formal presentation?
No, it's a brainstorm. It's a very loose brainstorm. It can be as structured or as unstructured as you want it to be. I mean, I always go with whatever the business owner's preferences are. The important thing is, and one thing I will add, and I think this probably doesn't apply to you, but because you're probably just a one person or in your organization. But sometimes I work with people who have got very important people in the business. For example, people who run their database, and I would suggest that it's a really good idea to get those sort of people involved, if not for the whole workshop, even for a small fragment of it, because they're often the people who have good knowledge in terms of how data is compiled, for example, and that's essential to that sort of the springboard to good marketing, really.
Okay, so kind of involved, so not just sit on my own in a room, but actually have some people there to talk these things through with.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it will be the two of us. I would be more than happy to involve Mona and Lou if they wanted to also get involved. And it revolves around a series of questions, really. And I think the way it sort of drills down is we would then pinpoint the areas where you've got quick wins, where you've got things that are working incredibly well. Let's leave them. Let's just park them and move on. And out of that will come a strategy, a plan, a budget, timeline, etc. And then off you go.
You've mentioned this thing, database. Do you mean like my existing clients? That sort of thing?
Yeah, basically it's your contacts. It's the contacts you've developed over the years since you've been in business, and I think it's one of the most important facets of any good marketing is to have a good, clean as well database that you can use. Could I ask you a question on that, which is really, is it something that you first of all, have you got one? Have you got a database? And
I've got a list of all my previous clients. Yeah.
Great start. Is it fairly up to date in terms of?
Yeah. I was seeing someone else earlier. They're definitely on it still.
Okay. And whenever you go out and do networking or meet new people, is it something that you regularly update? Keep on top of.
No, I hadn't really thought of adding people I haven't worked with to it. It's only been people that have actually had a session or two.
Okay.
I guess it's an obvious thing I hadn't thought of.
But you've got a record of those sort of people, and I think that's
business cards, LinkedIn contacts, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a good starting point. So I think those are all good sort of raw material, if you like, that we can take and move, because it's only when you see things in sort of big picture that you can then perhaps get some really good ideas in terms of opportunities for new types of channels that we can get into. And that's why I value this type of work quite significantly.
And I guess they're all going to want different things, right? Because obviously I know what my previous clients have had, and I guess I then need to change perhaps what I'm doing to match what new clients might want.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're almost getting into a sort of a workshop situation here, because you're almost taking, without necessarily, we're looking at it obviously very, very generically here, but these would be exactly the type of things that we would be exploring, because you'd be saying, well, it's a bit like sort of putting some Venn diagrams, putting people into circles, putting people into different groupings that there's an opportunity here. And those are the ones that's where the gold is in terms of the workshop, because they're the ones that you could explore as potentially quick wins. Some might be more longer term and so on. And it's only then, what we then do is prioritize. We say, these are the ones that we need to do now, the low hanging fruit. Let's quickly get these out of the way. And then there's ones for the future. So, I think the mindset of what you're doing is exactly right in terms of that. I think what I want to pick up on something, Mike, you mentioned something about content marketing earlier. What types of content marketing have you successfully done and achieved in the past?
Well, Lou will know that I came to her and worked with Lou in the past for a few videos, which I wasn't really entirely sure how to use, and that's probably my fault for not really asking. But you definitely gave me an idea of how they should be structured and to share them across social media and other channels. But I wonder if I didn't take advantage of that properly.
Of sharing your videos across all your channels. There is a number of ways that you can do it, and it really depends on whether you want to make money from it or not. So when we talk about content marketing, there's obviously the free benefit of being able to give away resources to attract customers, to be able to gather people, subscribers, email lists and things like that. But there's also paid for content that's behind a paywall or is gated in some way. So really, there's two ways of spreading your content. Obviously, to market yourself, you need to spread it across YouTube, social media, and your website, and create lots of lovely backlinks there. And if possible, get involved with other smaller groups of people that have the same target market as you. So where you're at, you might be looking at other people who are perhaps personal trainers more in a health and fitness sense than in a massage therapy sense, or you might be looking at someone that does wellness. You might be looking at someone that actually offers, mental health support as well. Because all of these,
kind of thing.
They all go really complementary with you. And if you can find these people and share content, create content together, create, podcasts, for example, together, or create videos, create blog for each other, then you're creating a real shared kind of environment of your content where you're attracting other people from your target market using other people's marketing. So that's the first way you can share stuff. But one of the ways that we're looking at doing it, and a lot of people doing now, is with a gated content. So it might be that you have a free sample on your YouTube channel, which leads people to your website where they get a slightly longer version or a bit more in-depth information. And for that, they might have to part with their email address, which allows you to email market to them. You can then go on to having a paywall where people pay for full courses, full services and things like that. And those don't need to be live. They can be videos that you've created and people can pay for a video course. And one of the great things about this is it's an It's an external revenue stream from what you're doing. When you're a sole business trader and you're on your own, there can be a lot of problems in terms of, just having the time and the accessibility. And when you're meeting people for appointments, your time is limited on how much you can earn in a given year. So having these other revenue streams, having video courses people can just pay for without you needing to be involved or give your time for, allows you to kind of build your business in another way. One of the key things to doing this, though, is if you're going to be looking at paid for content, gated content in any way, shape, or form, or even just spreading across your social media channels in general, is that you make sure that your branding is consistent across all of that. So, the things like your logos and everything need to match across it all. It goes beyond logos. It's the tone of voice you use. Which comes back to copy, but there's a big area of design. And one of the things I've noticed about the videos you've been creating, as great as they are, and as wonderful it is that you've taken some of the tips on board in terms of how to shoot it, is that you're very much lacking a branding element from it, which I definitely think Mona could help you with there.
Yes, of course, I can definitely help. Mike, well, could I ask you a question? So
you might not like the answer.
How did you get your logo, may I ask?
Well, I made it myself on Canva a few years ago, but I haven't really given it much thought since. Just been kind of, as an amateur, I'm not a design-led person, as you can probably tell. But yeah, I guess I haven't really thought about it since then. And I hadn't really considered, is a budget necessary for that kind of thing when I could just do it myself?
Yeah, it's understandable, but I like to say something really brutal. Because I have a look at your website and your Instagram or other social media platform. Basically, they're all over the place. You don't really have any consistency. For instance, if I look at your website and Instagram, I wouldn't be able to recognize those two are from the same company. So people don't really recognize you. I'm sorry, Mike.
No, I mean that's a fair criticism, but all right, what do I have to do to change that?
Okay, I can give you some very simple tips. For instance, you got to set out some very simple brand guidelines. Okay, let me explain more. And once you got a logo and the color scheme, and also the fonts you use on your logo, you got to stick with those rules. For instance, when you are designing your own marketing materials like business cards, pull-up banners, and when you are doing your own website or other social media images, when you are doing those designs on your own, you got to stick to the same logo, the same color scheme, the same font.
Yeah, I guess.
Carry on. Yeah.
I'd say it makes sense because I think I overthink these things sometimes. Like, oh, what font should I be using? Sometimes I just stick with the default. But maybe having made those decisions initially, it then means I don't have to make those decisions again later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, I understand it can be quite complicated for you. So I'm here to help. Of course, whenever you are ready.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I think the branding is, it's a big piece, but then I also kind of get stuck on what I should be saying. Like I know what I would tell clients in the room or in individual consultations or what I'm out networking. But I guess what I would say, I mean, does it have to be different to the words I use online? Because I guess I need to be search engine kind of optimized. It's a phrase I've heard for copy. How important is that?
That's a very good question, actually, Mark. I think if you're looking at the language that you use on your website, the first thing that I would recommend we can do, and it doesn't cost anything, it's to run a health check on your website. And this usually looks at trying to determine 4 different things. What sort of words you're using, what sort of keyword research is actually working for you on that website, and what needs to be done. Looking at the technical issues, whether there's any backlink, broken links and stuff like that, which are very easy fixes, usually if you're a developer, but they're things that happen from time to time. Things like associated with that is things like meta tags, which are the technical sort of stuff that drives websites. And again, it's the wording that you use in that, and that links in with your keyword research and stuff. And finally, link building, which is a really good way of sending out different messages to different, your social media channels. You can link it with citation indexes and God knows what. And those are the 4 areas that we recommend where their strengths, and and the link building, by the way, gives you authority on your website as well, creates the authority. So we could look at that and then make a few recommendations, but perhaps that's the thing that you do, after you put all these other little things in place. I think that's a more medium-term goal for you at this moment in time. So I think a lot of the stuff that's come out of our discussions has, points you in other directions.
Just to say though, with your SEO as well, a lot of people don't realize that the web copy that you use on your YouTube videos actually also counts a lot towards your SEO. And with the way technology is moving, so YouTube auto generates transcriptions of your video, which turns your video into a text form behind the scenes on YouTube. And that still becomes SEO searchable. So when you're putting your videos up, you have up to a 5,000 character limit for your description. The more you use of that, it works in the same way as a blog. It's all searchable for Google to look through. So as well as the copy that Sass has just mentioned, there's a lot of opportunity with the content you've already got to go back and optimize it for better SEO from it as well. So, maybe that's a short-term and a medium-term plan, is to optimize what you've got and then look at how you can roll that out further with what Sass has just told you.
From the design point of view, when you're updating your website, when you are changing the images around, maybe you can add some keywords into the caption or the image names. Yeah. Those can generate keywords for Google.
I had no idea that was a thing either.
Yeah.
So basically everything I'm putting out there is all connected in some way to building that presence, and it's all kind of joined up, I guess.
Yes, of course.
Wow.
It's the sum of the parts approach, really, that will gradually develop into something quite a leviathan of a beast that would then be your organization that you can, take to wherever you want it to take it to.
I suppose if I take the effort to put in on one of these points at a time, then I guess they're all going to slowly complement each other.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a very important point.
That doesn't sound quite so scary. I thought it was going to be like, sit down in a room, in a dark room for 6 months and come out with everything perfect. So
content marketing takes time. It does take time with content marketing to build the online presence, but with it taking time to do so, it also means you've got time to put the effort into it. And that's what the roadmap that Sass is talking about can help. It can help you really navigate your way through the content that is available to you and how to use it, but also to how go back and optimize the stuff that you've got. Just things like your LinkedIn bio and your YouTube About Us section. All these things can really help galvanize you and make sure your company is seen and linked to together. Mike, do you have any more questions for us?
No, I mean, you've kind of blown my mind enough already, I think, for one day. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for thanks for everyone for your interesting information today, and hopefully it will resonate with some of our listeners. We'll provide a short action plan which you can download from our website, but just to quickly go over the action plan, Mike, so far you've done a great job in obviously developing your business to date, but it's time to get creative and look at some kind of different approaches for some niche channels in your business. So the basic quick wins we've discussed today are doing a workshop and developing a roadmap to position yourself and your differentiators. I'm sorry, this can we just cut again? This language is not me friendly. Do you want to do the wrap up, Sass?
I can do. It might be a bit of a read but
you can read it fine, but this is not a me friendly form of talking. It's very much you.
Do you want to go right back to asking if I've got any more questions?
Yeah. So do you want to ask Mike if he's got any more questions? Mike says no, and then you go into the final wrap up. And as soon as you hit the bit, as soon as you hit medium term D, I'll then come in with my little goodbye. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Okay.
So, sorry, I've got to ask Mike. Is there any more questions as a start? Okay. So, Mike, do you have any further questions based on what you've heard today?
No, it's all been really good. I think that's as much as my brain can hold for one day.
Okay. Fine. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for a really interesting and informative discussion, which hopefully will resonate with fellow listeners. We will be providing a short action plan for Mike's business, which will be posted on our website after the podcast has been released. just to give you a little insight, really, in terms of an action plan for Mike, I think you've done a great job in developing your business so far to date. But I think it's probably time to get creative and look for alternative approaches, find out how niche channels can work within your business. And I think you've got a few real quick wins. First of all, perhaps a workshop, a roadmap is a really good idea to develop differentiators and to recommend. And out of that will hopefully fall new content from which you can then look at alternative channels to market. I think branding consistency is a very, very important and a fairly straightforward and easy quick win for you, again, across all the platforms and all the channels that you use. And I think another easy one also should be a consolidation and a definitive creation of a database, something that you can then use and regularly use and repurpose. Then the medium term, I think you can look at reviewing your video content, look at how it can be repurposed and used in different channels. And that goes hand in hand with looking again at your database once you've done your database and segmenting that so that can then realize those types of opportunities. Definitely look at a logo refresh perhaps in the future. That would be a really good and also send out really good messages to people that you're moving in a new direction. I think that's something that you mustn't forget, and then finally, really, and sort of underpinning all that is your website health check and all the words that you're using and all the copy that you might need to, use to bolster all that up. So that's a little quick action plan. You'll get all that as part of the review. Back to you, Lou.
Thanks, Sass. So thanks everybody for joining us today on this episode of the Content Octopus podcast. As Sass mentioned, you can download the free content marketing suggestions we discussed today at the link below. If you'd like to see your business discussed on the podcast, then do feel free to get in touch. And a massive thanks to Mike for portraying this week's business owner. You can find out more about Content Octopus at contentoctopus.co.uk, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.